Welcome to day 2 of TDX. Are you all having a good TDX? Awesome. Well, welcome to the future of user management. How many of you have attended a previous future of user management at a previous Trailblazer DX, Dreamforce, or also saw it on Salesforce Plus? Raise your hand. Awesome to see so many familiar faces, and for those of you who are new, you are in for a treat and welcome. I'm sure you've seen this slide 900 times today, but I'm going to show it to you one more time. Please only make purchasing decisions based on please only make purchasing decisions based on products that are generally available today, because everything in this presentation is forward-looking. If we haven't met before, my name is Cheryl Feldman. I am a product manager at Salesforce covering user access and agentic setup, and I'm joined by 2 incredible colleagues today. Ben and Jamin, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Absolutely. Hey everybody, my name is Ben Sklar. I'm a director of product management at Salesforce, and I work on our back-end data services like the user interface API and also the setup platform.
Hello everyone, I'm Jamin Hall. I'm a user experience architect on the platform team, and I'm focused in partnership with Ben and Cheryl and others on improving the general setup experience.
Now, you may have seen this slide in previous presentations, and we're going to show it to you again, because we cannot shape the future without you, and we just wanted to take a moment to say thank you. We have come a long way, but we still have a long way to go. And we just wanted to say thank you for being on this journey with us and ask you to continue on this journey as we start to agentify, setup, and the user access space. So speaking of our journey, let's talk about where we started. When we first started presenting this session, we were able to deliver 142,000 points to improve your user access experience with things like being able to report on permission set assignments. And then last year, we retired an additional 100,000 points on delivering things like the summaries, as well as some more granular permissions. And so today, since we started doing the future of user management, we have retired nearly 250,000 points from the Idea Exchange, improving your experience. But we're not done. We're still going. I'm going for it big. We're going to deliver 500,000 points, 1,000,000 points from the Idea Exchange, delivering some big ticket items we're going to show you today. Things like cloning users, and one of your most requested items, field history tracking on the user record. Now, before we get into some of the experiences, we wanted to align with you on the challenges that you have with user access. When we first started this session 2 years ago, we sent out a survey and we asked you, what are you spending your time on? And by far, it was troubleshooting. And what was something that was really, that stood out to me, was that you are spending 20% of your time each week. That is equivalent to 1 day troubleshooting user access. And it's difficult to use and easy to get wrong. How many of you have accidentally misconfigured a sharing rule or a permission set? Yes, I see, and no shame. The experience is difficult right now. And something we've heard consistently at True to the Core, everything is so many clicks. Do we understand your challenges? And for those of you who are watching this on Salesforce Plus afterwards, we want to hear from you as well. Make sure you're posting in the future of user management on the Trailblazer community. But these challenges are part of broader setup challenges that we want to address as well, such as the inconsistent user experience, the scattered documentation, and the steep learning curve when it comes to setup. So I'm going to make a very bold statement. Setup as we know it today is over. O-V-E-R, and I'm really excited to welcome my colleague Ben to the stage to talk to you about our path forward.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. As Cheryl just mentioned, setup as we know it is over, and we need a fresh start. So we went back to the drawing board and we asked ourselves a question: how are we going to fix all of setup? How are we going to fix setup holistically across the board? But before I tell you the answer to that question, I'm just going to do a quick recap for all of you. So over the last year, we started summarizing. We have summaries for permission sets and permission set groups, for user, for public groups, for object access, for everything. And we continue to enhance these summaries release over release as well. The reason why we started with user access, why that's the first area that we started fixing for setup, is because it's the most used area in setup. User management, object management, etc. So we started with user access, and we also started with user access because trying to fix setup all at once is like trying to boil the ocean. You may have heard me say this before. And as you all know, boiling the ocean is impossible, right? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to announce that it's time to boil the ocean. But we can't boil the ocean alone. We need help from agents. So how are agents going to help us boil the ocean and fix all of setup? You're going to find out very soon. But before I answer that question, I want to share with you all what we've been working on over the last year in terms of our setup platform and how we've been improving that to power all the features that you're about to see. So the first thing to call out is we've been updating our APIs and delivering new features, but I really want to hear from all of you out there, our technical audience, our ISVs and partners, those of you who may have AppExchange apps. What are we missing in our APIs? What's blocking you today? And when it comes to setting up your AppExchange apps, where do you think that really should be? We want to hear from you. As Cheryl mentioned, please let us know. We're also going to stick around for a little while after this presentation. We want to hear your feedback. It's so valuable to us. We've also been working on building new components and then using and reusing those components all over. And you have seen that with the summaries, and there's some more that Cheryl's going to share with us soon. But we're also launching this new thing called description-based UI, and we're just starting our journey on this right now with the setup platform. So what is this? I'm going to explain. Before I explain, imagine you looked at a setup page today, and you looked at the metadata. If you look at the metadata of a setup page, you won't actually learn how that feature or setting should be displayed. And so what happens is all of our teams who are building in setup today are sort of doing everything on their own. They're writing all of the back-end and front-end code on their own. They're doing all of their designs on their own. And a lot of you admins have told us setup feels like it was designed by all these teams who don't talk to each other, and it's like the Wild West. Well, this is why. This is the problem that we're trying to solve. So how are we going to solve it? We're going to start describing our pages in much greater detail. And so describing how the feature or the setting should be displayed so that we can render that UI more consistently and maybe even generate the UI from the description. And so for our teams who are building in this new agentic age, they just need to describe what the page should look like, and they don't have to write all of this code on their own. So we can start getting what is the value of this framework, right? For all of you admins, why do you care about this, right? It's because we are looking to build a unified experience for all of you admins, something that's consistent, easy to use, and accessible for everyone. So that's our setup platform. That's what we're working on and have been working on. And this has allowed us to deliver improved and reusable experiences. But it's also going to allow us to launch the agent for setup. So introducing the agent for setup. We have a conversational agent that's going to increase the productivity of all of you Salesforce admins out there. First and foremost, it's going to simplify your tasks. Secondly, it's going to give you contextual answers and navigate you to where you need to go, and maybe even take action on those things. And finally, it's going to help with troubleshooting and resolving your errors, saving you so much time. So a new day is dawning for setup. We have so many incredible new features to share with you all. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it back to Cheryl, who's going to tell us what's coming in spring and summer.
Thanks, Ben. Okay, are you ready to see what's coming in spring and summer? Agent for setup, troubleshooting object and user permissions. With the agent for setup, you'll be able to ask questions about a user's access to an object or which user permission is required for a specific feature. But you're going to get something you have all been asking me for a while, the ability to compare access for two users. Now let's talk about the permission set summary. If you saw this session at Dreamforce, whether you watched it live or on Salesforce Plus, you heard us share a little secret with you that the permission set summary and the user access summary and all the summary pages will become those setup pages. So we've started to bring what I like to call editability to these pages. So in the spring release, you are able to remove permissions directly from the permission set summary, and you are able to add or remove that specific permission set to one or more permission set groups. Let me state that in another way. Today, before this feature, you would have to go into every single permission set group you wanted that permission set part of and go in manually. You don't have to do that anymore. You can do it directly from the permission set summary, saving you hopefully hundreds of clicks. And then coming a little bit further out in summer and winter is you're going to be able to add permissions. That will be in summer. And we're also going to be introducing more tabs into the summary for things like record types and Apex. And so all the sections you see in the permission set will become tabs in the summary. And then also a little bit further out in winter, you'll be able to manage muting directly from the permission set group summary. Object access summary. When we introduced this at Dreamforce, we actually got a standing ovation. And we're going to continue to enhance this. Now, one of the biggest questions that Ben and I got when we announced this was that could an admin edit the object access directly from the summary? Come the summer release, the answer will be yes. Now, Ben talked about the summary component, and we've also talked at Dreamforce about the list component for setup, and now we're introducing the concept of related lists into setup. And so one of the biggest complaints we get about some of the related lists on the user today is you can't actually do what you need to do from them. Specifically with public groups and queues, you just want to manage that user's membership from the user page, and you can't do that. Well, I'm happy to announce you will be able to do that directly from the user access summary in the public group and queue related list. You'll be able to add and remove a user from public groups and queues. And then also, coming in winter, is you will have an improved experience for assigning a permission set to a user. We can also manage the expiration dates. Now, I'm really excited to talk to you about this enhanced related list. Something you have all been asking me for a while. In the summer release, you will have field history tracking on user using the field history tracking framework that you all know and love for things like accounts, contacts, and opportunities. You will have it available for user, and this will be in beta for the summer release, and if all goes well with the beta, it will be GA in winter. And then just coming back to some of the work we're doing with list views and setup, we continue to add additional fields and functionality to the user list view, as well as the new list views for permission set and role are now available. And last but not least, view all fields. This is the permission many of you have been asking me for a while. So in the spring release, you have the ability to use view all fields at the object level for any license, as well as view all fields at the system or global level for the data cloud licenses. And we are working on introducing this to additional licenses. We're working with the license owners for the Salesforce license, as well as for the API only license. Are you ready to see some demos? Okay. You ready to see comparing access of two users in Agentforce for setup? Okay, so here I am on a user record, and I've got my agent open. And I'm going to ask, why does Linda Herman have access to the contact object? And then it's going to come back with, yes, she has read access, and it's going to tell me which permission set. Now, right now, it's just showing the ID, but soon you will be able to see the permission set names as well as a link to them. Then, if I wanted to compare Linda's access to Sean's access, I can do that. And so this will come back with what Linda Herman's access is, what Sean's access is, and then, even better, it will be able to explain to me the differences and how they got access. Are you excited for that? If you want to see this in action, you can go to the user access and permissions booth out in Platform Park. And now, if I wanted to understand which permission is required for a feature, if I said, what permission lets me download the results of a report? It would tell me export reports. But if I wanted to know, can Linda Herman actually export reports? It understands that that's for that user permission, and it will tell me, no, she does not have the export reports permission. And then it will also tell me what Sean's access is to that as well, and where Sean is getting that access from. So, improvements to the user record. So if I'm on the user access summary, and as I mentioned, this will become the new user record. If I come here and I scroll past the user access summary, you will have a new permission sets related list section. And if I click on permission set assignments, and then if I click here and I click add, I will be able to see all the permission sets I can assign to a user, as well as I can also add an expiration date, and I can also manage the expiration dates right from here. And so if I go ahead and do that and click save, and then if I come down to the team groups and queues section, one thing to note, in the summer release, we are moving public groups and queues from the user access summary into their own teams groups and queues section, but this will allow us to have that add button that you have all been asking us for, so you can manage the memberships right from the user record without having to go directly to every public group and every queue. You'll be able to do it right from there. And so if I click on a group and then click save, that's how that will work. And let's talk about the improvements of permission sets. And I'm really, 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 really excited for some of these. Now, this is available in Spring today. If you're on the user access summary, the permission set summary, and you click on add on the permission set group tab, you can add that permission set to one or more permission set groups, or you could remove it without having to go to individual permission set groups to do it. I'm really, really excited about that. And so if I go ahead and I select my permission set, click add, and then if I go into user permissions and click add, you can do that from there. And that will be coming in summer. And this is the one I'm most excited about. Think about how a permission set looks today. When you want to adjust object permissions, you need to go into every single object section. This is the thing that, in my mind, takes the most clicks. What if we gave you the ability to do it inline? This is coming in summer. And so if you click here, you'll be able to adjust the object access right from this inline, saving you hundreds of clicks. And so I'll be able to do something like that, and then click save. And let's talk about the object access summary. Something we've talked about at this session a lot over the years is reusability, reusability, reusability. So if I come into object access, this looks pretty similar to what you saw in permission sets, right? Because we're reusing the same component. And if I click edit here, I can have the same type of experience where from the object access summary, I can adjust or add object CRUD to permission sets and profiles directly from the object access summary, not having to go into every single permission set or profile to adjust or remove it. And this will be coming in summer. And so this will look like that. And I'm excited to pass it over to Jamin to talk to you more about the future.
Awesome. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Ben. How's everyone doing? How are we doing so far? Well, we hope you're excited about the features that we've shown you that are coming in spring and summer. I now have the wonderful honor of giving you a glimpse of some things that are on the horizon. I do want to go back to our forward-looking statement. Everything I'm about to show you is forward-looking, but we want to give you a window into what we're working on so that you can give us feedback. So in that spirit, if you see something today that you like, would you let us know by clapping? If you have questions and concerns or suggestions, we want to hear from you, okay? All right, so the first use case that we're going to take a look at is troubleshooting field level security. Already applause, okay. All right, so we've already made this a little bit easier with our field level access summary. But what if we could make it even easier with the assistant of agents? And what I want to highlight here is all of the use cases we're about to show you are going to feature agents. But we're not just focusing on agents for the sake of agent's sake. We really want to improve your experiences and make things even easier for you. So imagine we open up our agent for setup and we can ask a question like, does Sam O have access to the amount field on the account object? Ask a question, and we get an answer. The agent's able to summarize for us Sam's field level access very quickly. I didn't have to hop between pages. It was just right here. And maybe based on the question that I've asked, the agent's able to infer that maybe there's another related issue that I'm trying to troubleshoot. Maybe Sam's not able to view or edit a field on that page. So if I provide a link to the record or @reference it, imagine the agent being able to take a look at that record, looking at the page layout assignments, and then coming back and letting me know that the reason why Sam's not able to view that field on the record is actually because that field isn't on the page layout, right? Yes. You didn't have to do the digging. The agent does that work for you. And in fact, it doesn't just stop there. It's also going to offer to be able to remedy that issue for you, right? Now, before I make that change, though, I probably want to understand the impacts that any potential change I would have would make, right? We don't want the agents just to set them wild. We want to make sure that we're giving you all tools to be able to be confident about making these changes. So what if I ask a follow-up question? Which profiles would be impacted if I add this field to that page layout? And in response, the agent can go find the profiles that would be impacted. In this case, there are 3 of them. And even tell me the number of users who would be impacted by that change, right? Okay, some clapping. This is really important because when we start working with agents, being able to have that clarity into what's happening in the system, really, really important. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make this change. The agent's going to help add the field to the page layout. It can even help verify that the change that I was seeking has been able to be effective. Let's move on to troubleshooting user record access. Okay, so Cheryl showed you earlier the ability to compare 2 users' access to objects. What if we could apply that same pattern, ask a question, get an answer to record access? So imagine being able to ask a question about a user's record, access to a specific record. I've referenced the record, and the agent comes back with a simple response, letting me know and summarizing the access that Sam has to that record, right? And while the agent retains context of that record, what if I could ask a follow-up question about why another user doesn't have access? And the agent can respond, oh, it's because that user's not part of a public group that grants access to that record. Do you want me to add that user to the public group so that they can have access? So we're asking questions, we're getting answers, and the agent's helping us take quick action. Now think about the time that this would save you. In just a matter of moments, we've been able to troubleshoot and take action, something that would have taken minutes, if not hours, to do before. All right. So what I want to focus on next is, while there's a wonderful opportunity with agents to help us with troubleshooting, we also think there's more proactive use cases for our agents. I'm going to ask a question. We're going to create a circle of trust, okay? So there's no shame. How many of you have ever unintentionally created a permission set that is identical to a previously existing one, all right? Duplicating efforts. Okay, a lot of hands coming up, and those of you who didn't raise your hands, you probably did and don't even know it, right? No offense. I mean, you're all meticulous, so maybe that's a step out of bounds. But here's the truth. It's very easy to do that kind of thing, right? Because today, there's not a system check that prevents you from doing it. So you, as the admin, have to have that burden of checking before you create, right? So what if we could tell the agent, hey, I want to create a new permission set, and I could describe what I want that permission set to look like, the access that I want it to grant. Now, before the agent goes and creates that permission set, what if it could scan my system to look for permission sets that grant identical access, right? Wouldn't that be helpful to be able to know that there's already 5 existing permission sets that do exactly what I'm asking this agent to do? Now, we can go even farther, and the agent can actually recommend that we merge those existing permission sets, and it can guide us through that process. So let's imagine we want to go ahead and combine our permission sets. Think of all the things that we've got to think about and step through in that process. First of all, we need to come up with a name for the new permission set that's inclusive of the permission sets that are being replaced, right? Agents can help us with that. We need to think through the impact on our users and making sure that any users that would be impacted are reassigned to this new permission set. Agents can help us with that. We also need to think about and consider the dependencies or the impact that this might have on any permission set groups that are related to that permission set, right? So the agent can help us identify those and make sure that we're reassigning the new permission set to any permission set groups that had dependencies on the other permission sets that have been removed. All right, and so along the way, the agent is helping us clean up our permission sets, organizing our systems, removing the hay that we sometimes add to the haystack, and really cleaning up our systems for us. So really, really exciting opportunities there to be more proactive with our agents and giving you that assistance. Okay, I'll pause for a second, catch my breath. The next ideas that I want to show you look out even farther. And what I want to call out is that so far in the interactions that I've shown you, everything's been constrained to the context of that single panel, right? And that's actually a really useful and powerful, simple interaction paradigm. We can ask questions and we can get these text responses. But we also recognize that sometimes the answers to your questions deserve something a little bit more rich. Like you're going to need some more information, and you need to be able to see visualizations that help provide that context. Well, you've heard Cheryl and Ben talk about how we're creating all these summary components, right? What if we could combine those summary components with our agents? And we're trying to explore ways that we can make this possible. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So imagine a use case where I have a question about Aiden's access to a particular object, right? Now, the agent might read and understand my intent and respond to me with a simple summary. But maybe I actually need a little bit more of a rich view to go deeper, because there's follow-up questions that I want to ask. So what's different here is that the agent's not just responding with a summary, it's also asking if I want to view this in a canvas. So imagine being able to click this button, and now in a new tab in your navigation, in a console, we're going to open up a canvas where the agent's going to be able to dynamically render components in response to your question. So here, we're showing you, now it's very clear to me the access that Aiden has to multiple objects, right? And now I can ask a follow-up question, because maybe what I want to do is I see here, he only has read access to the billing. Maybe I want to give him create access. So maybe a follow-up question I might have is, which permission sets grant access to create on this object? And in response to that question, we can pull up one of our summaries, dynamically render it here. And here we can see that the permission sets that grant access are both the accounting US and the commerce admin. Well, I know that I don't want Aiden to be a commerce admin, so let's go ahead and tell the agent that we want to add him to the accounting US permission set. So I'm going to say that. It's going to assign the permissions, and then here you can see the new permission set has been, Aiden has been added to that permission set, and his access to the billing object in the component above has been updated, right? So what you didn't have to do here is go hop between a bunch of different pages. You were able to have conversation with the agent, and dynamically you're getting these richer responses that help you along the way, all right? Now, what I've shown you so far is focused on summaries. What if we could dynamically render forms? So we know that one of the challenges that you all face is creating users. You have a user that you want to create that looks like another user. What if we could apply the same pattern of interaction to cloning users? All right? So imagine being able to say to the agent that you want to create a user that looks like another user. Now you could continue in a conversation to kind of refine what it is that the specific requirements that you want. But what if you could also open up a canvas where a dynamic form is generated and highlights you the fields that have been copied over from the original user and allows you to go in and complete that user form in a much more you're in control way. Now what I want to call out here is the agent is still here, so if you want to clarify and use it, you can, but also you are in control of what's going into that form. You're still at the helm, and so we think that's a really important detail. Okay, so we've shown you a few ideas here. This is really the tip of the iceberg of how we're imagining using agents to improve the way that you're working and set up. We recognize there's lots to consider here, and we want to make sure that we're doing so in a responsible way. We'd love to hear from you after the session, your feedback and input on the things that we're looking into. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to give you a glimpse into the future.
Thank you, Jamin. Are you all excited? Are you as excited as I am? Well, let's talk a little bit about the roadmap. So in the next 3 to 6 months, you will see the add permissions and additional tabs on the perm set summary, things like editing object access summary, user field history tracking, a real big request I know from a lot of admins, as well as the troubleshooting field level security and agent for setup. In the next 6 to 12 months, we're going to have the managed meeting through the PSG summary, enhanced related lists on user, and then user field history tracking GA. The first will be a beta. And then troubleshooting record access and agent for setup, as well as additional troubleshooting use cases that Jamin was showing, as well as the clone users. Those are a little bit further out, but we're starting to look at what we prioritize when. So please make sure you're putting information in that survey. I will read every single one, and we will use it, and I've used that survey feedback to update our roadmap. I've absolutely taken information from that survey and from the feedback that you provide, and it goes into my roadmap, absolutely. So with that being said, make sure you fill out that survey and tell us what you think. You know, we want to bring this session back at Dreamforce. Do you want to see it back at Dreamforce? Do you want to see it go on the road? Let us know what we can do better. Let us know what you loved, and let us know where you want to see actions and setup. And thank you. We have about 6 minutes left for questions. There's a mic here if you have questions.